Hi everybody, this is John here. This is Paul, George,
and Ringo.
And we're very happy to be on your program once again.
Hello everyone, this is your Beatles News guy, Steve Marinucci, with another Beatles News podcast. And this comes on the heels of Show 86 we just published with the interview with PJ Maclen talking about the February 12th Paul McCartney Bowery Ballroom show that took place earlier this week. It was the second of 3 McCartney shows he did there. This time we have PJ's friend Bob Gannon, who I think most of you know has traveled the world to see and photograph Paul McCartney shows. Bob also attended the Wednesday show with PJ Maclen and talked to us on February 15th, the day after the last Bowery Ballroom show, and gave us his own observations about the show, and also we took the time to discuss some of the other shows he's seen in the U.S. and elsewhere. So here's our interview with Bob. Take it away.
Bob, I mean, how many McCartney shows have you seen, Bob?
The Bowery show would be my 142nd.
Okay. How did you get tickets?
Well, of course, the first show on Tuesday, when that announcement came out, I live in the middle of New Jersey, so there was just no way for me to get there in time for such a small venue.
Right.
So people started calling me, asking me, well, do you think there would be a second show? And I told them, I said, in my experience, these small shows are usually one-off. I really can't remember a time when there were 2 in a row or even 3 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I started looking. First, someone said, have you seen the poster? And I was like, no. So when I got off the phone with that person, I went over to the poster and I noticed there were no dates on it, which I found peculiar because the other small venues that had shows that had posters for purchasing all had dates on it.
Right.
So it was kind of weird. Then I went to the website for the Bowery Ballroom. I noticed that the person who was there Tuesday and Wednesday had been moved to Irving Plaza. The person that was there on Thursday was canceled altogether, and there was nobody there Friday. So I started figuring, well, maybe there's a chance. So I talked it over with PJ. I said, why don't we go? The worst thing that happens, we'll stay overnight. You know, we'll go record store shopping if it's nothing. So we decided to go. We actually got to New York City before the first show broke. Once that ended, we had a friend that was in there, so I waited for him to come out. So we talked about 45 minutes to an hour outside the front doors, and they had the doors wide open, and you had a clear view to the stage. And we noticed that they were not breaking down the stage.
PJ said the same thing, that they weren't breaking anything.
Yeah, they were actually just covering things. So we just looked at each other and said, oh, I think we might have hit this one. So the next morning, we planned on going there at 9:30, figuring no one else was going to be the smarter. And I get a text at 6:30 in the morning by a friend that was already online. And he goes, Bob, I thought you were going to be here today. There's already 15 people lined up. So I woke up PJ and said, sorry, PJ, change the plan. We got to go now. So when we got there, I think we were like 18 and 19 on the line. So shortly after we got there, security showed up, started straightening out the line, started putting up the gate. So we knew it was looking really, really good. I would say by 8:30-ish, Mark Hamilton, Paul's head of security, he showed up and was, just hanging out, walking around, came over and said hi to me. I've known him for a long time. So, I mean, if he's there, you got a good chance to think something's happening. So right before 10, he comes out of the main office with a roll of blue 50/50 tickets and hands them to the first 100 people, goes up and down the line. Of course, there were more people there at that point, but I have no idea. The first 100 were guaranteed. When you got to the door to purchase your ticket, you handed over that ticket, and then they gave you a real concert ticket and a wristband. I don't know how many people after the 100 got in because we left. It was freezing cold and it was a long 4.5 hours. We were ready to get back into the heat.
Yeah, he told me how cold it was, and I was like, oh my God. I think he said it's like about 20 degrees. Is that right?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm pretty good in the cold, and my fingers were frozen.
Okay. Okay.
But before I left, I
Mhm.
walked up and down the line. So at that point, there were probably over 400 people on the line.
Okay.
I just wanted to walk down and see if I knew anybody and say hi, how you been, catch up. The funny thing for me is, with all the shows I've gone to, especially in the New York area, I know all the regulars. For me to walk down with 400-person line at a Paul McCartney person and not know a single person other than PJ and the guy who texted me, if you had told me the day before that could happen, I would have called you a liar. But sure
He
enough,
he he told me that he said that there were a lot of younger people. It was all younger people in that audience. Is that right? I mean,
yeah,
that's what you saw?
yeah, it was mostly 20s and 30s.
Wow.
But, when I'm standing on lines, you can sit there and be bored and just stand there. I like to go down the line and talk to everybody.
Right.
So I engage with a lot of those 20-year-olds. And
Sure.
what I can say is that there was genuine excitement, nerves because they haven't gotten a ticket yet. But they were very interested when they heard how many shows I've been to. They started asking questions. They were very engaged.
Hmm.
So it was a good time. It made the waiting easier.
Right.
But inside the show, well, let me tell you, that crowd was awesome. They were jubilant. They were loud. They were singing. I mean, they were jumping up and down so hard that you could feel the floor shake.
Wow. Yeah,
It was,
PJ said he was a little nervous about the floor because he said it was, because it was just a wooden floor and, that it was shaking and everything. He was afraid the place wasn't going to hold up.
well, I didn't think that because I felt the only other time I felt that in a concert situation is when I was at Ringo's 70th birthday party at Radio City.
Ah,
When Paul came out, you got the very same thing. It was shaking heavily. And
and that's an old building. I mean, and it's a solid building. I mean, because I've been in there myself, and yeah, I mean that's not going to go easily. Let's put it that way.
no.
So
Yeah, I wasn't worried about that. I was just enjoying the atmosphere. And let me tell you, I mean, for Hey Jude, I've been telling this story for a couple of days now. I've heard him play them in big stadiums. I've been to a lot of small venue shows with Paul. This was the loudest I ever heard sing along. The voices were just echoing off those walls in that small joint.
my
I mean, my ears were still ringing 2 hours later.
Wow.
And that was just from the Hey Jude sing along.
and DJ said the volume was. I think he calls it McCartney level volume. Is that what
Yes,
you?
it was, the volume was good. You know,
Okay.
and when you look at the first night, I think we got a better set list.
Okay.
So we were happy with that. We got every night and we got Getting Better and Flaming Pie, which I haven't heard him do in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was fun to hear those songs again.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. How long did the show last?
I would say about an hour and 40 minutes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. It must have been an amazing experience. And how did McCartney look to you from where? How close were you to McCartney, by the way? Were you?
Well, we decided that we weren't going to go with the mosh up front because they were just on top of each other. So we were
Okay.
about halfway back in the floor. So if you were at a stadium show, I would say the equivalent to the fourth or fifth row,
Okay.
which is good. It just, you're a little separated from the sound, so you're not right next to the speaker.
Right.
So I figured it was good. We were able to move about. No one was cramming us. So it was a good place for us. And of course, since they had taken cameras and cell phones away, there was no reason for me to be up close. I couldn't take pictures.
Right. Right. Did you see any? Were they recording the shows? Did you
Well,
see any evidence of that?
Well, I do know Charlie Lightning was there, and I saw the hand held out a few times. But honestly, I really didn't get a good view of all of upstairs. They could have been. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I mean, a whole bunch of celebrities have been mentioned there was a video I posted yesterday on the Facebook group of Steve Van Zandt, and PJ mentioned Sean and Nancy. And who did you see there?
Oh yeah, we saw all of them. Woody Harrelson, Elvis Costello. Who else? I said Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
Anne Hathaway.
Okay. Yeah, she was mentioned. I think one of the newspapers mentioned her.
Yeah, there is a video floating around. PJ actually sent it to me that it has all the celebrities arriving.
Okay, I think that's the one I posted yesterday. I think I found that. It was about 15 minutes long, I think.
Yeah, I guess that's where he got it from. He didn't tell me where he got it from.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, there were quite a few celebrities got the word about this thing. But
you got to remember they're all in town for SNL 50, so I figured there'd be enough of them.
what do you think? What do you think the purpose of the 3 shows was for? I mean,
well, I would say the last time I went. Well, I don't know if it was the last time, but when he did the Irving Plaza one right before the last SNL thing he was at, anniversary show, he did. I think you probably remember he did Maybe I'm Amazed, and his voice not being in singing shape didn't come over great. I think he wanted to avoid that.
okay.
So I think these shows were a warm up for SNL 50.
Okay. And his voice sounded fine?
I think for me, it's the best I've heard his voice in quite a while.
Okay.
I mean, I couldn't detect, usually, especially in his speaking voice, it'll be quite croaky at times.
Mm-hmm.
There was none of that, even when he was singing. Other than a little warble on Flaming Pie, other than that, I thought his voice was the best start to finish that I've heard in quite some time.
All right. When have you seen him recently?
Recently, I saw him in the middle of November in Mexico City.
Mm-hmm. How was that?
It was incredible. It was a huge stadium. I had always heard that Mexico and South America was something that you needed to really experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a friend from Mexico City that, was urging me to come and visit, to visit him and see the show. So I did. And it was everything that it was built up to be. The real cool thing about that stadium show is, even though I didn't see it in real time, Doran let me roll it. We heard a huge response from the crowd behind us. I was, I think, in the 3rd row. And I'm just looking behind me saying, what the heck is going on? I can see what's going on stage. And it's certainly nothing to elicit that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then a couple minutes later, my friend sent me a photo on my cell phone. And they had sent drones into the air. So the drones were making, heart and other shapes. And then at one point it formed the Wings logo.
Oh my.
So there was a huge Wings logo over my head. And I didn't even know it.
That's incredible. I've never been to any of the shows in Mexico or in South America, but it seems to me that there's a difference in the crowd, in the enthusiasm down there than there is here. Is that accurate? Or, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I've seen great crowds in America. I've seen them great crowds in the UK or in Europe. This was definitely a different level. It was, maybe because it was so much bigger.
Mm-hmm.
I think this stadium had 80 or 90,000 people in it. And let me tell you, they were engaged and singing and having a ball from the time it started to the time it ended. Even those polls between songs, they were still singing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely a something as a fan I was glad I got to do.
Okay. Do you know of any other shows upcoming? Other than obviously the SNL 50, which, we're right on top of. Have you heard about any other live shows? So, there's been speculation that the Bowery shows were kind of a warm up for a possible tour announcement in America. Any indication of that?
I used to have people that would let me in on that, but I don't have that no more. So I'm flying blind like everybody else.
You're flying blind. Okay. All right. Crossing my fingers because I know that you'll be there if there is. Anything else you want to? Go ahead.
Yeah, I certainly hope they're going to do it because you live in New Jersey where I live. It's so easy to go to Philly or New York or Boston or DC. So I hope that he's coming. I hope that he does the East Coast, at least some of the East Coast.
Yeah, I would think, it makes sense that he would do something here. He wouldn't just do these shows he has done and quit. But then again, he's not that young anymore. So,
Yeah.
who knows?
But add to that we were supposed to be getting a new album this year. So maybe he's going to tour behind that.
There's another observation. Yeah, PJ said the same thing that maybe the new album will be the reason he goes out in America. But we shall see. Were you disappointed he didn't do any new songs?
Well, no, as a fan, my heart of hearts hoped. Well, I was saying, what a great way to drop a bomb by doing this pop-up show and then, hey, this is my new song. It's available on Friday.
Yeah.
How great would that have been? But of course,
Right.
That's my fan speaking, not real life Bob that knows better. He's not one to really surprise like that.
Right. Okay. Bob, thank you. This was a very quick setup, and I really appreciate you talking to me about this. I mean, those shows are amazing. I can't think of another instance of him doing. I mean, he's done single shows, but not 3 shows like this before, right?
Not even 2.
Yeah.
I mean, out of 142 shows, I would probably place this in my top 10, 15.
Would you?
It was that good.
What's your number one?
It would probably be Liverpool.
Okay.
I've been lucky to see him in Liverpool 5 or 6 times.
Okay. Liverpool when?
Let's see. That's when you've seen so many shows, you start forgetting dates and years. Well, I saw him in 18. I definitely saw him that year. 2008, he did Anfield for the Capital Culture. I was there for that.
Right.
That was a great one because he started out with Hippie Hippie Shake, and he put a real rarity in that set, a song called In Liverpool, which is not even officially released. So it was kind of amazing to hear him do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, that sounds. Yeah. The hippie. I remember him doing Hippie Hippie Shake.
Yeah.
That was definitely special.
I always equate people to seeing Paul in Liverpool is like seeing Bruce Springsteen in New Jersey. It's the conquering hero coming home.
Mm-hmm.
And they really get excited when Paul's in town.
Right. Well, Bob, again, thank you for taking the time to do this, and good luck for the next McCartney show, whenever that is.
And we'll keep things short and sweet and say that's all we have for you for today. If you want to know more on those Bowery Ballroom shows, be sure and catch our interview with PJ Maclen in show 86. And we have more shows in the works where we'll go deep on the Beatles and their music and discuss all sorts of topics. So be sure and subscribe to us where you get your podcasts, and please leave us a nice review with lots of stars, because Google likes nice reviews and lots of stars. And you can also join our Facebook Beatles News and Information page, which we constantly update with useful information about the Fab Four. Until next time, this is Steve Marinucci saying,
Be seeing you.
Keep that one. Mark it fab.